Yeah, like I said earlier, we had about 600 people in our graduating class, and then I actually graduated in the top 10% of my graduating class, and I
Yeah,
think I was on.
brag that academic shit.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pat myself on the back because I mean, not too many people can do both. So I tried to. I was blessed with the. I got a big head. I wear a 7 3/4 and a fitted hat, so at least back then there's something in it. I don't know if there is or not anymore, but yeah. But back then, I mean, it helped me get through. I went into school because I mean, over here, I don't know how it is in Canada, but over here, college is a little bit expensive. You kind of got a thing you got to save up for, plan for, of the sort. But
You
I
definitely can
kind
do it a
of did
lot more
that.
on a whim here. It's like our entire college could be like 1 year for you.
Yeah,
So yeah.
nice, nice.
So you're prepared for college then? Like, what's that like going through that process? Nobody talks about this shit. So for me, I'm like, fuck. The guy's in New Mexico and he went to college. Let's fucking break it down. What's U.S. college? I
Yeah,
can.
it's pretty interesting, and we can keep rolling with everything and see where we end up today. Because I tell people a lot of times the only reason the guy for Dos Equis got the job is because I was too damn busy doing nothing.
It's amazing.
But yeah, from there I kind of went to yeah I went to school and was gonna try to get a doctor's degree in pharmacy.
Oh, that's sick.
So I still I played basketball for fun on the side. I mean, I say I wasn't great at it, but I still intertwined myself in it. I worked 2 jobs. I managed a swimming pool in New Mexico for the city as a Hobbs over there. I managed a swimming pool and then worked at the college as like the student services. We planned events. We helped plan events. We ran the game room, things of the sort like that. So I'm always listening to music there. We planned dances with DJs and things. And so
Yo,
get to do a little
that
bit.
that is a very handy skill set for a rapper to be having here. How to fucking plan an event and pull off some shit is all I'm trying to say. But that's also an interesting thing that can tie out to that knowledge nugget shit, yo. Cause like one of the things that keeps me employed at my day job is the synergy between my ability to maintain my life outside of work based on the ability to practice shit in an environment that is not my life. And that's
Yeah,
kind of what like planning events for whatever you were school or whatever it was, sorry. like it it kind of plays into the same thing. You run through the motions, you develop the checklists, you start to understand what to watch for, but more importantly, you see what the fuck happens when fuck ups happen and how to fucking deal with that stuff.
hmm
And it's not
yeah.
your
It's kind of
money.
like a. It's kind of like a. It was more like a. It was interesting the way it was too because it was all school functions. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely won't take any credit for any of the major stuff. Is basically like I'm a sidekick. I was working 20 hours a week there, making a few extra bucks to help pay for my books and pay for food and stuff and whatnot. So it was kind of
You could have also
man.
not been doing that. And that's
Oh
where it's
yeah,
interesting because at 32 or whatever, you start rapping. And maybe if you're not sitting there event planning, involved with musics and whatnot, with youth, like young people, so you're seeing the impact of this. Do you get to go to the events or are you like behind the scenes?
no, I was at the events because that's kind of. I mean, it almost. I wouldn't say we didn't, it was a college dance. We didn't have security, but I kind of. I mean, help the guy that organized it with. I mean, kind of run the door, help go. Sometimes I help with the DJ a little bit, or just kind of oversee the events and kind of the flow of the night and things. So,
So yeah, it's
and
definitely huge. So you're seeing the impact of music on crowds, on people,
oh yeah,
and
that was
social
a
dynamics.
lot of fun to me.
Yeah, did you get to see anything wild, wild? Was anything crazy going down at some of these parties that you can talk about? I don't know. Sometimes people have great stories here.
So these are hearsay. I mean, theoretically speaking.
Always.
No, I mean
It's
there
alleged.
was just to I guess put things in a weird long perspective, and I won't go too in depth into it, but yeah, there was time. I mean, he'd let us he'd kind of turn a blind eye and we would pour a little bit of whiskey in the mixing with the soda while we're working up there and at the dances and stuff. Have a few drinks, but there was one night I was dating a girl at the time. I said that things in Hobbs and New Mexico in general they're kind of rough in times. There's what you see at gangs. We had Sodanos, we had Bloods, we had Crips, and sort of there. So sometimes people would intermingle. I mean, people would go chase the college girls, so they'd show up to the campuses, the dorms, and things, or show up to these
Mm.
dances and whatnot, hang out. And some, I mean, people that play sports there, they interact outside of the college from wherever they're from in the world.
I highly respect
So,
you. I don't want to get too deep into that. I highly respect that. I'm like, he dropped some buzzwords where I don't want to get too deep into that no more.
yeah.
That's serious stills, man. That's like a very different environment. And I guess you get to see how to manage that and how to be in that kind of context. So it toughens you and all that shit too, right? Because you got to keep going back to it.
Yeah, I like to. The biggest thing, and I say in my personal life, my personality, my music, sports, everything, I, it's always been a melting pot. Everything has been real diverse, and I've experienced a lot. I've met famous people, hung out with rich people, I've hung out with the snooty, popular kids, and I've also spent time with, I mean, Slodanos, I mean, at their house sleeping in a trailer with no heat, no electricity, almost on the weekend. Not often, but I mean, do the same thing. I've experienced it. I've been around it. I've been different social, cultures and whatnot. Probably been to at least 30, 40, 50 quinceañeras, which is kind of like a traditional Spanish thing. I mean, Hispanic for the Mexicans. They've once you turn 15, it's basically like the movage of the what I want to say, the rites of passage of
Right.
becoming an adult for a young lady. So they have a quinceañera. It's either they buy the girl like an expensive car or throw this huge extravagant party that's they spend $20,000-$30,000 on sometimes for like a dance or a party for a 15-year-old girl.
Yo, it's just a bar mitzvah for
Yeah, yeah, basically, exactly. And it's
I respect it.
in the Mexican culture, I mean, that's where I grew up with a lot. I mean, 'cause in New Mexico, there's a lot of Mexican people. So, I
This
mean, we
makes
go to
sense.
these, they cook a lot of good Mexican food, and then they go. I mean, and it's not out of the normal to go. I mean, go to a party like that, and 13-year-old teenagers are over there drinking beer out in the open with the adults. No one cares. No one bats an eye. But you go anywhere else at that age over here, then I mean, it's a huge deal. You can't go to bars, can't go to clubs, you can't buy it. Go to parties, you're gonna get busted, maybe arrested by the cops. So, but you go to that. I mean, as a 16, 17-year-old kid, you could walk in with the vodka or fit the rum or something in a 30 pack, and no one bats an eye.
That's serious. Yeah, we're like the exact same age, right? So I can like parallel this shit back to my life and how boring it was. Nah, but I mean, don't get me wrong. Everything that you said exists in some way in Montreal. I was just not exposed to any of it. I was not very cool in high school, so I didn't get to go party a lot. I found out later there was some serious like party opportunities I could have been involved in, given where I went to high school. But no, I didn't do any of that. But also just to think of the way that the cultures are treated so differently and how it's almost like allowed is like it's just one of those things you don't really consider a lot. How if you go into a Mexican cultural area, it's like certain norms are just so drastically different than if you go into the other part of town, and how like almost segregated culturally speaking that can almost create an environment. Like I don't know, that to me is mad different, but like it's probably a real thing that's more prevalent everywhere else, right? Like
It really is, and this, I mean, that so well, segregation has ended and things like that. I mean, and it wouldn't, but it is weird to see like the towns you go to, because almost every town you go to, there's always certain areas you'll find certain people. That's how, even in Hobbs, that's how it was. The central town, the north of town, it's a mix of everyone. I mean, the east side, it's a mix of everyone everywhere, but I mean, predominantly that's what you think of. You go to the east side, you get the African American people on the east side, the Hispanic people on the south side, and then the rest of the city's kind of mixed a little bit more. But that's predominantly that's the majority over there in those sides of town. I mean, I spent plenty of time hanging out on the south side. I hung out all over the city, they're everywhere, and just different times, different people. I mean, yeah, my friends kind of wide range of people all over the place, different
you definitely
personality,
seem like
interests.
I feel like you just attract everybody and everybody likes you. You just have that kind of energy.
Sometimes.
That's amazing.
I'm sure there's a few people that don't like me, but
Willie wants to know about where the indigenous people at. We have mad communities in New Mexico. Were you bopping around with the indigenous communities at all?
I'm worked up in a little bit later. I'm actually into college, kind of how I got there after college. I guess I'll give a short tidbit, but I'm not going to go into it since it's on recording. again. But
That's
whenever I
off-camera
was going,
stories, Willie. Off-camera stories.
yeah, definitely lots of off-camera stories we could go into. But yeah, this one kind of I made a bit of a mistake whenever I was 21 years old, second year of college. I'm working to get a doctor's degree. Same time, like I said, I like to party. I like to listen to music. I like to have fun. I mean, so I mean, back then I used to smoke and whatnot, and I used to also make a little bit extra money doing that, and then other party favors and things. And then until one day my luck ran dry, and that kind of got me into a big, a big stink. But anyhow, I ended up working from there. Whenever I went to jail for a little bit, and lucky not to have to go to prison. But went from there and went to Ruidoso, New Mexico, where they have an Apache territory up there, Apache Indians and the indigenous people up there. And I mean, so I made some friends there, and just kind of I was mostly working. I was kind of running wireline, putting in telephone poles, running lines above ground, underground, out in the mountains up there. And then also, I mean, they have some different communities up there. I think Apache indigenous people around there. The Navajos, I think, have some in the similar areas, but yeah, they're more. There's more indigenous people, I'd say, probably a little bit further in northern New Mexico than southern New Mexico.
Okay.
But close to us, and in my experience, I mean, I was able to interact a little bit with some like a few people from like the Apache tribes and some Navajo people as well. But that's kind of the extent of it. I wasn't around as many. There wasn't many in Hobbs as well.
Fair. I don't think they were as close to because we have like real close to Montreal. There's several territories that exist that are not like Montreal or whatever. So like it's really accessible and always present, I guess, in my reality. But it's super nifty to consider that the way that it gets chopped up, you could be in an experience where you have almost no exposure at all, which is just again like super different.
Yeah, and it is pretty neat. And I guess just to tie it all in together, I guess to what's big focus in my life, sports is I enjoy it. We'd go and play in wrestling tournaments. We'd go and I mean, like I can remember a couple schools. Shiprock was basically all tribal land. I think is a tribal school, and they wrestled in the state of New Mexico with everyone else. And I tell you that those guys were tough, man. They were tough, and it's crazy too because it's not like what you'd think of the normal athletic physique, the aesthetics and things. They go in there, big belly, skinny arms, and guys were strong. And they were strong and very mentally tough.
Mm.